Hello, everyone. How you doing? Thank you for coming again. My name is Cesar Toledo. I'm the SVP of Operations at Bip Media, and on behalf of everyone here, we really want to thank you for taking the time and coming to our first ever Bip Talk. One of many, we're hoping. So we don't have that much time. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and introduce basically our visionary and Bipper, our leader, and what else did you want me to say about him? And our CEO, Robert Holland.
Thank you, Cesar, for that. Next time I'll figure out a list of amazing adjectives. All right, thank you all for coming. As Cesar said, this is our first one we're doing really solo. All of 2022, we were part of the Small Business Expo, and we did workshops and keynote presentations throughout the whole year last year. And we went all over the country doing those in huge venues, huge cities. What we're going to cover here is basically a microcosm of what we did at those expos. Because they went so well, we wanted to basically continue it without being kind of under the expo umbrella, so to speak. We were kind of confined and whatnot. Here, it's just us, and it's just you all. So thank you all for coming. As Cesar said, Bobby Holland, you can call me Bobby. Bobby Holland one founder of Bip Media. Bip Media, at a very simple level, we'll get into it. We are an SEO company, search engine optimization. And I realize that term might not be 100% familiar with everybody, but we're going to go through it. Started Bip Media, actually started doing SEO as a freelancer 15 plus years ago. Did it for several years. My amazing, lovely wife is here. Our 4 kids who are now growing up, but they were very little when I started doing this, and had a full-time job doing what I did, and slowly over time, very much slowly over time, which is an important lesson for any entrepreneur to understand, the diligence and the persistence of slowly over time. But it got to a point where the freelance thing was no longer working because they only have 24 hours in a day. If we brought on any more clients, then it would have been too much. So we got to a point where we had to decide one thing or another, either no more clients or keep doing what we're doing and keep bringing clients on, but then I leave the job that I was in. We were actually at Fox Pizza, which is no longer there, but it was up on Epps Bridge. If anyone remembers when Fox Pizza was up there. We were sitting there at Fox Pizza, and that's where we had the conversation. Can't bring on any more clients, doing what you're doing, and having your full-time job, so what are we gonna do? And it was literally sitting there, my daughter, who's now 22, but she was little, she was in gymnastics. That's also where the name Bip Media came from. Okay, so quick side note to that, one of the most common questions I get is, where did that name come from? Right, so in case anyone's wondering, where did that name come from? So if you were to come to New York, which is where I was born and raised, you would hear my mom only call me Bip. Whether I'm in trouble, well, if I'm in trouble, I get the full name, like Robert Donovan. So, but in normal context conversation on the phone or while I'm there, you would only hear her call me Bip, B-I-P. That was my name growing up. The nickname is what she's always called me to this day. And she's been asked, I've asked her, other people asked her, where'd that come from? She has no idea. So that's the extent of the name of it. And literally at Fox Pizza, Megan Faith, we were throwing a bunch of names around, and she came up with that name. So anyway, that is the 3.5 minute version of where we are today. So fast forward to today, we have a team, I think we're at 20 now, a team of 20. We have 200, probably pushing 250 clients, and we help clients all over the world with SEO, right? When you boil it down to a very simple level, SEO is getting your business ranked, getting more visibility, more traffic in Google search. And when it comes to Google search, Google is the same right here on Baxter Road or Baxter Street as it is in, you name the city, right? Anywhere in the world. India is huge. The US, obviously, huge. Australia, all over the world. One of the most obscure clients that we've had, I'd like to mention, is an AC repair company in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia. Now, I've been to the Middle East in the summertime, if anyone's been there. If you are, I guess, fortunate enough to have AC there, temperature pushes 120 easily during the day. So kind of cool, AC repair company in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, because Google's Google, no matter where you are in the world. The principles, the strategies that we do for clients here, it's the same everywhere. So that's kind of the makeup of our client demographic, if you will. Okay, so I mentioned earlier, for those of you here, while I'm talking, feel free to scan that QR code, and you'll just simply scan it. You'll enter your website URL and hit go, and it will give you a score. All right, and that score is going to become more relevant. I'll reference it quite a bit during the talk, but it's basically your SEO authority score. At a very simple level, all websites are rated on a scale of 0 to 100 based on a particular tool that we use. Okay, examples of 100, 99, 100 level would be sites like Facebook.com, YouTube.com, Google.com themselves, right? So there are sites that are at 99 and 100. It's those types of sites, just to give you a point of reference. Another point of reference, we get approximately 2,000 or more scans a month, because this scan tool is also on our website. so all the traffic that hits our site, people can scan it. We see over 2,000 scans a month, and well over 90% of those are scores of 10 or below. Okay? So if anyone has ran their site and you see a score of 10 or below, don't feel bad. You're in the majority. Okay? We'll keep working. Maybe after this presentation, you'll be at like Facebook and Google and YouTube level. All right? Again, patience. Three keys to growing your business in Google search. And this is what we're going to go through. I'll go through the slides. I'll go through the three main components that you need to be focusing on. And then once I get through that, we're going to move into a Q&A session. All right, where we can hopefully we can use the tool, same tool that we use to get the authority score. We can put your site in, and if you want us to, we can literally pull it up, and we'll go through some of the metrics with you. And we've learned, that's why we're doing this now, because we learned at the expos last year, it's the part that everybody loves. We even had a gentleman when we were in Atlanta, which was just last month, and we had the keynote presentation. There was a gentleman way in the back that literally wanted to pay us, I think it was like $20. He stood up, it was like, took us back a little bit, but he wanted to pay us $20 for us to use in our examples as we were talking, to use his business as the example, right? There was like a couple up front that was like a mobile, or mobile cleaning company in Atlanta. I kept referencing them for all my examples. The gentleman in the back wanted his business to be used as the example. So anyway, we took all those lessons, and that's what brings us here today. That's why we're in this kind of a venue. We can look at your sites, you can ask questions, and we can dive a little bit deeper into just, somebody standing and talking about slides, and then that's it, we go home. So hopefully at the end of this, it's valuable. You take a lot away. Obviously, we're here in Athens, so our office, we now have two offices, Suite A and Suite I, which we think is pretty cool because it's like AI. That wasn't intentional, it's just actually Suite A, Suite I. But we're in East Athens. If anyone, who's been to La Paria, East Athens? Gain School Road? Yeah. When you leave La Paria, when you walk out the doors and leave La Paria, you're looking right into Suite A of Bip Media, right? It's got the QR code. We come in every Monday because of the weekend at La Paria. We see little like handprints and mouth prints that are like down at this level because kids like the light during the light that we have on our thing. Anyway, it's kind of funny. Okay, so that's the overview. Scan the QR code, and we'll get into Q&A. All right, so let's get started. 3 keys to growing your business in Google search. I promise I have the next slide. Okay, number 1. Why is Google search important to growing your business? We can talk to the most unfamiliar people with SEO, but if they have a business, even the most unfamiliar understand to a certain degree, various degrees, how important Google search is. It's just kind of like a norm, and that's applicable anywhere in the world. If somebody has a business and they're actually serious in like working to grow their business or their business growing, everybody understands the relevance and importance of Google search. However, this particular slide, McKinsey, which is a major global consulting firm, they did research not too long ago, and they wanted to answer the question, on the internet, you have all these different channels, right? You have social media, you have email marketing, you have Google search, you have YouTube. You have all these channels that people can use to actually get customer conversions from the internet. McKinsey wanted to see what is the most effective channel, and that's what this graph came from. Okay, so down at the bottom, I just really kind of boil it all into social media: Facebook, Twitter, things of that nature. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, those are obviously huge platforms. We use them heavily. But the question that was trying to be answered here was customer conversion, not just advertising and branding. Social media platforms are powerful in advertising and branding. They wanted to see actual sales. Like someone connected with me on the internet and became a customer. Social media down at the bottom. Email, which is huge. We are very heavy users of emails. Anybody on our email list by chance? You get the emails like every few days? Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. So I was about to ask, like, do you like it or not? But the fact that you're still on, because you can also easily, with one click, unsubscribe, I assume it must be halfway decent. we try to just send information out to educate and inform. But email, and we use it occasionally to also promote. Email is a little bit more effective than social media collectively. Okay, with email, we use it with our email list. You may have seen it if you're on our list. 90% of it is like tips and strategies, and here's how you do this, and don't do this, and that's what the emails are. And then occasionally will come a promotion, like a monthly promotion type deal, right? So if anyone's familiar with Gary Vee, he has a book called Jab, Jab, Right Hook, something like that. It's basically describing a principle of something like email marketing, okay? So anyway, you see the effectiveness, and then you have organic search. Google owns over 90% of the search market, so that could really just be a graph for Google, right? You have Google, and then you have everybody else that's a very small, minute fraction, okay? Google search is that much more effective at converting sales because in Google search, Google is very what I refer to as intent-based, right? For searches that are product, service, interest related, like because somebody has to actually go to, make the decision to go to Google and actually type something in, right? If I own a house and I'm in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, and it's 135 degrees outside and my AC unit breaks, I'm going to Google with the intent, I need an AC repair person like ASAP, right? So Google's very intent-based. That's why it is exponentially more effective at converting customers than all other channels combined. And I always love referencing this. It's the first time I've ever seen it graphically, like McKinsey, of course, if you know that they're a huge agency, but it's interesting to see it graphically. Thank you. All right, a couple of stats. If that graph wasn't enough, a couple of stats. A couple of ones I like to mention. 92% of searchers will pick a business on the front page of Google search, right? 92%. So it's very difficult in our world. I'm an SEO kind of geek kind of guy, have been for a very long time. Jokes are a very hard thing to come by. But you're lucky today because I actually have, believe it or not, an SEO joke. This slide always reminds me of it. Usually Megan and other people, they don't like me doing this because it's just like, it's not really a joke. But it's a joke. You ready? Where's the best place to bury a dead body? You heard it. Where it went? Page 2 in Google search. The best place to bury a dead body, page 2 in Google search. Because nobody ever goes there. And you probably heard of it because I think it might be the only SEO joke in existence. I don't know. There's not very many. It's a very rare thing. A couple other good ones. 4 out of 5, 8% consumers use search to find local information. Right? You do it, I do it, consumers do it. Unless, like the group of people we're not talking about are the people that, you know, like, if I need my garage door fixed, right? I have a company, I'm going to, or if I need pet containment, I'm going to call Terry, right? So when you have a business that you always turn to, you want to be searching, that audience is kind of off the table. The whole other rest of the segment is, that's why search is important, because it's intent. I need an AC repair, I need my lawn mowed, I need so on and so forth. That's the local intent. In 2021, I need to get this updated, but 2021, devices, mobile device, influence more than $1.4 trillion in local sales through Google search. It's a massive, search, I just learned doing this, search happens, like literally the amount of time I've been talking, just the amount of search that's been happening in Athens alone, we would probably not even comprehend the amount of search traffic and volume that's happening literally as we sit here. Because you just don't see it, you know what I mean? It's not like there's some kind of like radar graph that's going up and down. It's just happening on phones, on the internet, but search is massive. Google, I believe, quarterly, last quarter, Google revenue was, I think, 135 billion for the quarter, and over 80%, 90% maybe of their revenue is Google ads, Google ad revenue, pay-per-click, okay? The reason people turn to pay-per-click and use Google ads, which is why they're so profitable, is because their business is nowhere to be found in organic search, okay? If I run an AC repair company in Athens, if someone Googles AC repair in Athens and Bobby's AC repair is nowhere to be found, my only option is to run Google ads, right? Because I know there's a lot of search volume there, but that's why we exist. That's why we do SEO. We get you found organically so you don't have to depend on Google ads. Okay. All right, so let's get into the 3 keys to growing your business in Google search. This is the foundational piece to all of it. You need a verified G&B listing, or what is now called a Google business profile, okay? This is kind of the ante into the game, all right? If you're a business, if you're a local business, really if you're any business, and your customers come from a geographic area, this is step number 1. If this isn't in place, if this isn't verified and set up properly, all the other steps would be handicapped by this, okay? So I took a picture here. It's one of our clients here in Athens, Kim Stevens with Stevens Brown. This is probably familiar, I'm sure, to you all seeing the search results on your phone. What you see here listed, those are the Google business profiles. That's what shows up in Google search, and this is mobile, okay? So that's step number 1. That's a very key, and ironically enough, may or may not surprise you, 56% of local businesses have not claimed their Google business profile, okay? So Google being the massive, perhaps the world's largest aggregator of business data, if I start a business today, whether I create a Google business profile or not, once Google gets enough information and data on me or my business or my location, Google's just going to automatically create one. The problem is, right, if my AC repair, I'm not an AC repair, but if my AC repair company is 850 Gaines School Road Suite A, right, but I didn't create a verified Google business profile, Google may create one that puts me on the other side of Gaines School Road, or they mess up my business name, or they use the wrong phone number, right? So that's the importance of having a verified Google business profile. It's you as a business actually making sure that's right. Because whether you do or not, once Google gets enough data on your business, one's going to get created anyway. Okay? So that's step number 1. Number 2, once you have a verified Google business profile, what we call the process of building a large portfolio of citations. Citations, at a very simple level, is your business information. It's technically made up of 7 data points. Any citation that has actually got an office, like a street address, with about 7 data points, which is your business name, your street address, your city, state, zip code, phone number, and your website URL. Those are the 7 key data points that make up your Google business profile. And kind of back on step 1, if you don't verify your Google business profile and Google gets enough information to produce something, any one of those 7 could be completely off, right? If we're at Suite A, we don't do anything, Google might not even put a suite, just say, 855 Gaines School Road, right? Things of that nature. So building a large number of citations, I put some examples of major directories. We actually have a network of 300 plus authoritative citations that we use. We also have access, we have access to a lot of directories. And when clients sign on, it's actually the second thing that we do. The first thing we do is we make sure the Google Business Profile is verified and optimized properly. But as soon as we do that, step number 2 is we start building citations. And this doesn't have to be like an indefinite ongoing thing. Like, you don't need to just keep building citations indefinitely. Once you get a sufficient number in place, the goal with this is it basically creates a reinforcement loop in Google Maps. Okay, if I'm at 125 Main Street, Suite A, that's my business. That's where I want customers coming to. I have it verified on my Google Business Profile. Once I create a solid enough of a portfolio of 125 Main Street, Suite A, that reinforces in Google Maps. You can almost think of it as like a protection barrier for Google's data systems not to indiscriminately change something, right? You're creating a reinforcement loop. That's what citations do. They're really important, second to verifying your Google Business Profile. Okay. All right, and then the third factor, this is what you would hear different terms amongst our team, but I typically refer to this as punching the gas. So, in all other things being considered in any given market, where, let's say, I'm going to use probably one of the most competitive markets on the planet is the legal industry, and specifically personal injury lawyers, law firms, personal injury law category. If you're in Atlanta, and you're in Midtown Atlanta, and you're a personal injury law firm, you've got like number 1, a verified Google Business Profile and a large number of citations. That's great, but so do the other 1,500 law firms that are right in proximity to you. So now, what's the differentiator? And that's where number 3 comes in, which is your SEO authority. Okay? So really, 1 and 2 is kind of the foundational components to it. Verified GMB, citations really takes that one step further, but especially in highly competitive markets, you have to do more because all of your competitors have a verified GMB and have citations established, right? So that's where SEO authority comes in, and I mentioned it, and this is what the QR codes are for. If you scan it, you can get your SEO authority score. One way I describe Google search, whether it's Google Maps or Google Organic, it's kind of like a real-time auction of SEO authority. Meaning, any search that you do anywhere in the world, no matter what you search, the results that you see instantly, there's always going to be somebody who's 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then page 2, where dead bodies can go, or page 5 or 6 or 1,000, right? Everything is ranked. And I describe the search results as very simplistic. Like, Google's algorithm is technically like the Coke recipe. Like, nobody knows, right? Nobody really knows. But there's like principles and experience that you can start learning some things. And that's just a very simple way that I describe Google search results. It's a real-time auction of authority. So another simple way to say that is any search that you do, whoever you see number 1, at that given moment, wherever you're located, whatever you search, you can generally say they have the most authority. And then number 2, and then 3, and then 4, and so on and so forth, right? It's a very simplistic, there's other variables that can heavily influence that one way or another, but that's a very general, I think, accurate way to look at it. So it's also the answer to the question of, well, I have a business and I'm currently ranked, I'm on page 1, but I'm ranked like number 7, or I'm number 8 or something. How do I get, like, my nemesis competitor is always number 1, right? How do I get there? So we would use our tool and we would look, or you can do it actually. You can see what your authority score is, and then you can run your competitor's authority score. In general, you would see that principle apply. Okay, if my score is 0, and if my score is 0, I'm in the middle of page 2, more than likely the top of page 1, those scores are pushing 30 plus. right? Authority scores. Okay. So SEO authority is the main difference. So like I mentioned already, we see, because you can go through our site and our email, we like push as many people as we can because we believe it's really important for you to know what your score is. So we have a lot of like avenues for people to run their score, and we see all the data, okay? So we see over 2,000 scans a month, 0 to 100, I talked about that. Top ranked sites, which I just mentioned, on average, top ranked sites, meaning say position 1, 2, 3 in maps and organic, have an authority score of 30 or above. If you get into really hyper competitive markets, like if you're a car accident lawyer and you're in Midtown Atlanta, your authority score has got to be probably pushing like 50 to 60, right? 30 in that market would put you maybe at the bottom of page 1, maybe page 2, right? So authority score is also relative to the market, like to the population density, for example. Like Athens, the greater Athens area, there's not as much population density as, say, like Midtown Atlanta, right? So those factors play into it, if that makes sense. But on average, 90% of the scans that we see are a score of 10 or below. Has everyone had a chance to run the scan? Is there anybody, I'm not going to get into this right now, but I'm just curious. Is there anybody with a score of, say, 40 or above? 40. And what is it? 63. And we'll, Sage School. And I'll come back to Sage School in a second, not at this second. Anybody else with a score, but that's actually amazing. 60 plus. Is it? Okay. So typically, if you run a site, run a scan, and you see scores that are in the 70s or 80s or 90s plus, in most cases, what that means is you have built the site, and it's like a subdomain of like Weebly.com or Wix.com or Squarespace.com or WordPress.com. Do you know what I'm saying? Those super high scores, like we've been in many expos where it's like some, I don't know, a plumber just started his or her plumbing business like last week, and he or she runs a score. It's like, Bobby, I'm like a 95. Like I have to be like dominating, and we're in like Phoenix or something. And we look at it and it's like, okay, it's like Bobby's Plumber Wix.com. That 90 plus score that they're seeing is actually pulling the Wix.com authority score, if that makes sense. Okay. So, how to boost your SEO authority? This is really a very simplistic slide. This slide would be applicable all the way back in 1998 when Larry Page and Sergey Brin were PhD students at Stanford, and they actually wrote, they were doctoral students, and they actually wrote the paper that became what we now know as Google. They basically wrote the white paper on the algorithm that basically crawls on the index of the web, right? If you're a geek like me who knows one SEO joke, I also have read that paper and I read it occasionally. I've read it many times. Now there's a lot of calculus and stuff I can't get into, but conceptually, what they wrote in 1998, this slide would be applicable back then, and it's as relevant as it is today. As much as Google has changed, as much as Google has updated their algorithm, it comes down to these fundamental principles. How to increase your SEO authority. You need a large number, comparatively, right? Because we're always talking about the relevance of your competitors, right? You need a large number of high authority backlinks that are do follow backlinks, okay? All the way, if you want to, you can Google it, you can find the Stanford paper. If you read through it, you will come away from it ultimately seeing the theme of Google has organized the web through backlink analysis. And the way they define organizing the web, organizing the internet, is by ranking based on search queries, okay? It's kind of crazy to go back and read it. That's like 1998. It's like applicable today. Oh, I see, okay. we're coming. So, high authority, both in volume and quality, more so quality than volume. The name of the game to build SEO authority is building high authority backlinks. Referencing that paper in 1998, I'm gonna get 1 second. Referencing that paper in 1998, they brought organization, they structured the web based on a backlink analysis. Okay? And they reference citations, and you can see it in that paper. Are there anyone like a professor or part of UGA, like teaching world? Okay. In the world of like professors, they will write papers, and that paper, the prominence of the paper or the prominence of the professor is a lot of times determined by what they call citations. Okay? So if Peter's a psychology professor at Georgia, and I'm a psychology professor at, I don't know, Athens Tech, okay? Just because Peter's a psychologist at Georgia and I'm at Athens Tech, and I don't know, this might not be good, okay? I'm just thinking off the top of my head. We both write an equivalent research paper. Peter's, even though he's a UGA professor, he only gets like 2 citations, which means 2 major publications picked him up and referenced his work. But me at Athens Tech wrote equivalent research, but I have hundreds that include like Yale and Stanford and Harvard, and I'm in the New York Times, and for whatever reason, mine just takes off citations. From an authoritative standpoint, in the world of, I guess, PhD psychologists, I would be seen as exponentially authoritative, disproportionately, right? It comes back to the same thing, and I mentioned citations because they mention that example in the white paper. They say something like, it's like if you're a professor and you wrote papers, who is creating citations, they're referencing it or they're correlating it to backlinks. Okay, so that's how you build authority to your site. Okay, next slide. And then we're gonna get to questions, which is always the most fun, favorite time anyway. Okay. So to recap, 3 keys growing your business. You need a verified Google Business Profile. That's the ante. Okay, you've gotta have that to get in the game. Once you have that, next step that we see as most important is building a large number of authoritative citations. Again, creating that reinforcement, or you can think of it also as protecting yourself from Google Maps or from Google's data world of inadvertently changing things that aren't right to your business. You don't want the wrong phone number. If I'm your customer searching, I find you and I hit the call button, you don't want the wrong phone number to be there because you're not going to get the call, right? So that's what citations do. They reinforce your business data. And then number 3, what I refer to as punching the gas, is building high authority backlinks. Like I said, been doing this for, I guess, relatively speaking, a very long time. We have, I don't know, I do know other major SEO companies, some better than others, some I know personally who are part of them. We have one of the most authoritative resources of publications to build authoritative backlinks, at least of SEO companies that I know of. And, I know quite a few. So that's the 3 keys. This last slide is you look at strategy call. But Peter, can you go back to the first slide for me? This is really, so we'll go ahead and move into Q&A. We'll start talking, answering questions, looking at things. But the most important thing is scanning your site and getting your authority score and seeing what that is. Okay. All right, so Ashley will actually, if we go to Ahrefs, that'll overwrite. Is there anyone else who wants to scan who hasn't? Because we're gonna actually bring up a tool that we use. Okay, well, a couple more people are scanning. I'll go ahead, and do you want to ask your first question?
Sure. For my first question.
Yes.
What about, so my score is very low. It's only a 2. But what I do is very niche, and So my ranking appears to be excellent.
Okay. What do you do? Like what category?
We are a local dedicated bra fitting boutique here in East Athens, but we pull clients from really across North Georgia.
Yeah. Got it. So, I mean, bra fitting or custom bras or
Yeah.
something like that. So it's a great example. What that is a great example of what I was referring to as kind of like, I was talking about population density, but also like density on the internet, so to speak, the competitive market. Since you have very few competitors, that real world auction is relative to the density of your competitors. That's why you're a great example, actually, of how you can have two and be ranking really well in your market. It's relative to competitors. Did that answer your question?
Yes, although I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
Do you think it's an issue that, I mean, I understand that, having a higher, rank or authority score, that's never going to be a bad thing.
Right.
But, do you think that is important under the circumstances? Is that, protected in some sort of a future capacity?
Yeah, I think so my opinion, I think it's extremely important, especially with the growth of, let's just call it Metro Atlanta, the way Metro Atlanta is growing. You may currently, and you're at a really unique place because you currently have kind of the leverage in the market, right? So as Metro Atlanta continues to grow and grow and grow, population grows, you may have other competitors, and more than likely would have other competitors come into the market. I'll come up here. And those are great questions and great points. Because we're talking about organic SEO, we're not talking about Google Ads. We're talking about organic SEO. There's always a time curve to it, right? When clients come to me today, and if they're like, Bobby, I need to be ranked number one tomorrow, the conversation is not organic SEO. The conversation is Google Ads. It is the only place where you can go today to tomorrow. What you're referring to, and again, to answer your question directly, I think it is extremely important. You have this unique advantage because you're kind of the only or one of the only in the market. But if you keep building your authority as competitors come into the market, you will have something they can never have. Even if they build more links, you will have the time factor always to your advantage. So it might not be a necessary thing, all things being equal with your competitors, but it's something I would strongly recommend because competitors more than likely will be coming, and you can have that advantage already in place. So it's a great example, a great question. Any other questions?
I got one.
Yeah.
Can you explain the difference then between do follow links and no follow links? Because you mentioned do follow links and no follow links, and they're probably going to go fast. So.
Great question. Do follow, no follow. So one of the common questions we get is that, but it will be asked in different ways. Some people will say, like, Bobby, like, I have YouTube videos. YouTube, I just ran YouTube.com and it's like a 99. So I have backlinks from my description in the YouTube descriptions, right? You're getting a backlink from a 99 level site, but unfortunately, sites like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I don't know if TikTok, you can even put links on TikTok. Can you? You can't. Shows how much I'm in the world of TikTok. Sites like that, Twitter, you can create links from Twitter to your site. Those are DA 99 plus level sites, except they're all no follow. Which means even though I have a backlink from a YouTube description or a link from a tweet linking to my site, that's not giving me any SEO authority because those platforms have, this is at a code level, but technically they have no follow those backlinks. And what it means, to answer the question directly, when Google crawls and indexes all of the links, when they index all the web, they see the links as one of two things. either passing the authority of the site that the site has, either passing it, which is a do follow, or not passing the authority of the site, which that is a no follow. Okay? The reason why sites like YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and any other major site that you could, New York Times, they're New York Times like a DR95 or something. If you get a link from New York Times, that would be awesome, but it's a no follow backlink because they do that because someone like New York Times, anytime you create a do follow backlink that passes the authority to the site they're linking to, the site sees it as kind of like, if you think of like a water balloon, the more do follow links you have leaving your site, it's kind of like small little holes in the water balloon, right? They see it as like almost a way of leaking authority. That's why sites would no follow links, right? However, for you to increase your authority, for your authority score to increase, you actually, like the most healthy scenario is to actually get both. But what we refer to as punching the gas, really moving the needle and building your authority, is you need do follow backlinks, right? So you need backlinks from sites. You need backlinks from sites. Expertise.com. It's a huge major directory. They're like a DR like 80 plus or something. Links from them, ironically enough, are do follow, right? So if you can get a link from expertise.com, or if you're a law firm, you get a link. US News is another good example. If you're a law firm, the legal directory of US News, it is the most authoritative directory on the planet, and also, ironically enough, links from there are do follow. It's just, even in the world of the legal industry, most lawyers, law firms, they might know it, but US News, it's not an easy path getting into it. But if you can get one, which if there's any attorneys, we know how to, we do it. But you get a link from US News, it's do follow, and it's extremely authoritative. So that's the difference between no follow and do follow. It's basically a code that the site is blocking or allowing authority to pass through the link.
So having a strong presence on YouTube really is going to help your SEO?
Not technically your SEO. It comes back to that slide about showing, like, I put YouTube kind of in the social channels, right? I can't say that it won't help, right? If I said having a YouTube channel and being on social media and things of that nature doesn't help, basically what I'd be saying is that's not a valuable thing for you to be doing as your business. It is a valuable thing. It is. But at a technical SEO level, your links are no follow, so you are not getting any direct SEO authority from it. Does it make sense? So I guess to answer, like, to not sound vague, links from YouTube will give you no SEO, technical SEO value, right? But if you think of it at one step deeper than that, what YouTube would do for you, and really all social media, which is why we do it a lot and we believe heavily in it, is what it will do is it will help you grow your brand, right? The more your brand grows, and everyone knows you and talking about you and sharing your stuff and all the things that come with brand authority, that brand authority will start naturally creating do follow backlinks back to you, right? The biggest brands in the world, they don't need someone like us going out and building portfolios of high authority backlinks for them, right? They have enough brand authority that links just happen, like in very large scale. Does that make sense? So I get that question frequently. I answer it kind of on a fine line because it is extremely valuable, but in SEO technical, because those are no follow backlinks, they're not passing any authority to you. Yeah, it's a great question. Caesar, how am I doing?
I got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. Yes.
So, I'm probably one of the odd ones in here. I don't have a website. Where do I start in this whole process to get a presence to then build it? I mean, I assume there has to be things that I need to have done to get what you call it,
A Google Business Profile.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great question. So ironically enough, and we see these examples frequently, because it's like what we do, we see it every day. You actually don't need a website to verify a Google Business Profile. I believe, you can test me on this, look it up. I was looking not too long ago. It's just what I do. Like, this is Ahrefs, I'll get into Ahrefs and I'll start looking at different industries. Well, I was looking at the DUI lawyer market in Miami. I usually always use the biggest cities because that's where the most competitors, that's where the biggest competition is. I found that I think it was the number 2 in Google Maps law firm for, let's say, Miami DUI lawyer. The number 2 law firm, their Google Business Profile, didn't have a website. They had a website, but they didn't have it associated with their Google Business Profile. So to answer to answer your question, that perhaps even before your website, your Google Business Profile is step number 1 for any business. The reason is, and this law firm in Miami is a really interesting case study because of it, because you can have a Google Business Profile and you don't need a website. There's a lot of businesses, like, so with that example aside, there's a lot of businesses that they use their Google Business Profile as their website. In fact, Google on the back end, on the dashboard of the Google Business Profile, for anyone who goes in and looks at it, Google has actually, it's one button. You can click that button and it will take your Google Business Profile and create a website for your business. Right? It's a relatively, I don't know, last couple of years, 2 years so. And a lot of businesses do that. So to answer your question, number 1, I think the Google Business Profile. And I say that also for mitigating like the scale and magnitude of Google data. Like, we can't comprehend how much data they're gathering. And like I said, as any business, if you don't create one, if you don't take the initiative and get control of it and get one and verify it and get the right information, once Google has enough information, one will just be created for your business. So for those 2 reasons, I think that's step number 1. And then step number 2, a website, I think is really important. Because once somebody knows about you, then somebody's going to go and Google. Like, people hear about Bip Media, they're now going to go and Google Bip Media, what are they about? And they're going to want to like go to the website, right? So I'd say that's kind of number 2. Does that answer your question?
Sort of. Where do I start? That was the other half of the question.
His business card.
Oh, yeah.
Where do I start?
So we can help you with the Google Business, the Google Business Profile is, that would be, so there's one person who's on our team, she's actually in marketing at Georgia. I say it, I'm not avoiding your question, but when you get into the technicals of things, we could literally turn these into like semester-long courses. The easiest thing is just get with us and we'll help you. We'll help you. Versus me going step 1, 2, 3. I could do that, but we don't have enough time. Yes, ma'am. Hey, how are you?
Okay, so I'm still in the preliminary stages, but if you wanted, and this is probably, it's probably ignorant, but if you wanted to target, say, your website went all over North America and Canada, but if you wanted to target the Southeast,
Yep.
is there a way that, page
Yep.
in Georgia, my website would pop up to number 1 or number 2, where in Saudi Arabia, it would number be 8, if you were just trying to target a particular area.
Yeah, great question.
Is it
Geographic-
regionally?
Yes, regionally or geographic relevance. That's a great question. So this leads into the topic of what we call city pages, right? Because in Google, as you know, and what you're describing, so we're in Athens. So I can just pull my phone out. Near me searches are one of the most common searches in the world. And if I need an AC repair company, I just pull my phone out and I search AC repair near me. The search results that I get here would be completely different than if I'm in Abu Dhabi, Saudi Arabia, and I search AC repair near me. Reason being, what you're getting at, another factor in Google's algorithm is your location. And when you're on your phone, Google knows the exact. It's actually like an 8 or 10 digit like longitude, latitude of exactly Google Maps on your car. It knows exactly where you are. And it tailors the search results to that. So the way we help clients with things like that, because it does matter. Like if you're targeting all of North America, or North America being like US, Canada, from an optimization standpoint, but your real market is like, say, the Southeast or the state of Georgia. So what we would do is start leveraging what we call city pages, okay? So city pages are a way that, so let me just use an example. So you have a business and you only operate in the state of Georgia, right? You don't want to get calls from Alabama or Tennessee, or certainly not California or Washington, because you're not like servicing it. You only service the state of Georgia. One way we would go about doing that is we would look at sort of the percentage, like population density matters in search. So we'd be like, okay, the whole state of Georgia. What are, say, the 5 or the 10 largest metro areas in the state of Georgia? And by doing that, we're accounting for, say, the 80th to 90th percentile of the population of the state of Georgia. So let's say the AC repair example. I'm an AC repair company. I only care about the state of Georgia. So in my website, we would create AC repair in Atlanta, and then write a page about AC repair and about Atlanta, and then AC repair in Augusta, and then AC repair in Gwinnett County, and then AC repair in Savannah, and so on. So in my site, by the time I cover 5 or 10 city pages, I basically have covered the 90th percentile of where my potential customers are in the state of Georgia. Does that make sense? You could, and we do have clients who do this, you could just create a page for Georgia, right? Like AC repair in Georgia. But the problem is in Google search, that's a little vague, right? Because Atlanta, Georgia is much different than Augusta, Georgia from a customer standpoint. So does that answer your question? We target geographic areas by finding the most densely populated cities in those geographic defined areas. You could say Southeast.
But that doesn't limit still pulling from Wyoming if somebody.
No, because you could still get people, like, it's not, there's like not 100%. Again, the only 100% solution to achieve, like, I want to be ranked tomorrow, or I want only the state of Georgia, you have to turn to something like Google Ads, right? Something like Google Ads, we could literally, if you're Starbucks and you know, you're the Starbucks in Soho in Manhattan, we could literally run a Google ad campaign and map out the city block that your ad won't run outside of that city block, right? Those things are possible with Google Ads. Certainly we could just outline the state of Georgia, right? But organic is different. Organic, we think in terms of like the majority of what's accounted for. So in organic, we would pick 5 or 10 largest cities in Georgia, or if it's Southeast, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, whatever your definition is, we would find the largest metro areas of those and start building those city pages in your site. Google would then crawl and index all those pages, and your site would be seen as relevant for that. Ultimately, like a line would start, like a boundary would start being formed, so to speak. That's the way to do it organically. We have clients who build a lot of city pages. They build city pages, and then they build state pages for all those city pages. Like this huge, they basically will turn their site into this huge, massive directory, in essence, of, you know, like Georgia, and then Atlanta, Augusta, Savannah, and then Florida, Tampa, Atlanta, like, they do that on purpose, and it's extremely effective. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, so we are a real estate company, and
Yes.
so obviously each agent is kind of like their own business. So they
Yeah.
made Google business profiles with the same address as our office. Does that affect each other? Does that affect like citations or anything if there's multiple businesses technically using like the same
To the
information?
same address, yeah, that's interesting. Like lawyers. So Lawyers, that's not a problem. There's another industry, it might be real estate agents, I believe. So it's not a problem.
Okay.
It's not a problem. But it's not a problem for only a few business categories, lawyers being one. Oh, physicians in the healthcare. So lawyers, physicians, and real estate agents, because the makeup of your bit, as you know, but just for the benefit of everyone knowing, when you have a real estate agent group, or you have a law firm with multiple partners, or you have a Piedmont healthcare system that's made up of who knows how many like major physicians of all different types, there is where Google allows, from a system policy standpoint, you could have a Google business profile for each real estate agent, all with the same address, all with, I mean, you could technically all have the same website URL if you like use the homepage. We would recommend each agent have their own individual agent page, or maybe even you have your own website, right? So those 7 variables are kind of like, if you think of it as like a spreadsheet, and each variable is like a row of data, that's how Google looks at it. So same street address, city, state, zip, but different business name, or in your case, the real estate agent name. And then if each agent has their own website, whatever column that is, your each individual website, but you share those things. At a very technical level, Google allocates for that. It's certainly the case with law firms and in the healthcare industry as well. Because you could have a law firm, right? We have law firm clients that have multiple, Cook Tolly's another client of ours, that they have multiple partners, right? And multiple partners, using law firms as an example, one partner will be focused on like criminal offense. Another partner is focused on complete different spectrum, which is like personal injury. Another one is like estate planning. If I'm the estate planning partner, I don't want to get calls for criminal offense. I mean, because I'm a partner, I'm like, it's okay, I'll like make sure I get you to my partner, but structurally speaking, I would much rather have things built so that they get criminal offense, I just get the estate, and the personal injury gets, so the answer is yes, you can. You can. Yeah, and it's extremely effective. If it's done right, and it's structured, I mean, it's not like, we're only talking about 7 like data points to get right, but you know, you'd probably be surprised at how much things don't get right. But the more right you get it, because data, it's ultimately an algorithm. Like, no human is at Google, oh, someone searched for like homes for sale in Athens, let me add like this person. That's not happening, it's an algorithm doing it. And the higher quality your business data is, and your website, and all these factors we're talking about, the higher quality also equals authority, right? So the better structured and organized and things are done, Google will understand that structure, see it as higher quality, and now the authority will follow, right? Plus, I mean, just simply doing it, whether it's quality or not, 56%, you can really say 56% of your competitors don't even have a Google business profile, right? That's just a global statistic, but that statistic follows through down to any market that you're talking about. So by you creating one, whether it's structured or not, you can put yourself ahead of at least 56% of your competitors. Yes, sir.
For backlinks, does the amount of traffic you get from a specific backlink affect your score? Like, are we looking at quality or quantity for backlinks?
Yes, so it does make sense. So quality, definitely. Quality, definitely. There's a lot of, I'm not going to mention any names, so there's other SEO companies that I'm familiar with, that we talk to, we interact with. So if you pay for a backlink from an SEO company, let's say you get, and I'm just going to use technical terms, let's say you get a DA50 plus backlink from company A, and you also get a DA50 plus backlink from Bip Media, right? Company A might just sell you that without any consideration of how much traffic that site's getting. They just have a site that somehow got a DA50, but let's say it only gets 10 visitors a month. But then from us, you get a same DA50 plus backlink, but the site we publish it on, looking at metrics, like on Ahrefs, looking at the traffic, The site we have access to is, say, getting 1,000 visitors a month. The DA50 backlink that you get from the site with 1,000 plus visitors will be exponentially more valuable than the equivalent DA50 plus that you got from the site with no traffic. So simply answer your question, traffic does matter. Traffic does matter. And I'm super proud of Bip Media and our team because this portfolio of sites that we use to build backlinks for clients, we vet the publications. Meaning we have minimum traffic requirements and of course minimal authority requirements. So you're not, and we get, and anyone on our team can tell you, I get at least a dozen emails a day from people who have sites and publications. They're like, Bobby, use my site. We're like a DR70. Like, I don't really pay attention anymore, but back in the day, I used to get excited, like, what? Like, you have DR70? And like, I've gotten to where I now look at it and you get like 5 visitors a month. I'm like, no. So I've just learned along the way, like 100%, almost 100%, we ignore that stuff. Traffic matters a lot. It's really, the reason why it matters is natural traffic. Again, the example of DA50, me, this other company, DA50, if you're only getting like 10 or less visitors a month, I'm getting 1,000 visitors a month. Your organic search traffic is a reflection of how Google perceives your site, right? So you want to get backlinks from sites that have traffic because if you're getting traffic from search, right, that means Google sees your site as like trustworthy enough, it's sending your ranking, you're getting traffic. If you're getting like 10 or less visitors a month, even with your DR50, like Google doesn't, like you're not getting any traffic. So ultimately traffic matters. Oh, thank you, Peter. Yeah, matters a lot. Yes, sir.
Got another one.
Yeah.
If you're working within a particular budget, do you have an opinion on, as far as actual conversions go? Basically, putting that into SEO for organic searches versus Google Ads. We have a pretty substantial Google Ads output, and I'm just wondering if, maybe that's the wrong basket to be putting all that in.
Yeah, it's a really great question, and great problem that a lot of, I guess you can call it a problem, that a lot of businesses contend with, right? And it's really a question of, like, I don't know what your budget is, let's say $2,000 a month, just so we put a number to it. Lower? $20,000 a month? I don't know.
About 500.
Okay, we'll use 500 a month. And it's a legitimate thing, problem, we'll just call it a problem. I have $500 a month. I have my business. I know that there's a massive amount of search traffic from new customers coming. New customers are searching in Google, I'm nowhere to be found. I have $500 a month. What do I do with that $500? Do I launch and apply it all toward Google Ads? Because I need to. And Google Ads, we're talking totally different, like tomorrow, you can be ranking in traffic. Or do I have to take some of that or all of that budget and put it toward organic? The problem is going the organic route. The consideration of the problem is I might not, depending on the market, I might not really start seeing traffic and results for another 3 or 6 months, right? So it's a conundrum. It's a huge problem, and especially when budgets are that sort of contained, so to speak. Your budget is $500. It's a tough consideration to wrestle with. So to answer your question, it's a little tough on $500. We would recommend, number one, you need to go, so let me answer it this way, and being sensitive to the fact you need traffic. So keeping the $500 ad budget going, you now know there's things that you can do that, like, you don't even need us. We would be happy to help you and like give you tips or whatnot without even you coming out as a client. But you now know there's things that you can do that the only cost to you is just a little bit of time. Like here today, anyone from our team in less than 5 minutes could create we could create a Google business profile for somebody and it be done accurate and everything and hit submit and the postcard be on its way in less than 5 minutes. But that's just because we do it every day. Someone could sit down and do it. So that's something you could do for free while your $500 budget's going.
So we've definitely got all of that for part of, I don't quite understand why we only rank at a 2. Because most of what you described, we're already doing on our own.
Would you be okay if we pull your site up?
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
I might be able to tell you.
Yeah.
And
It's railbros.com, GRAILBRAS.com.
And we didn't do this at the expos last year. We decided to try it here at this kind of venue because maybe by looking at your site and going through the data, it will also be helpful to everyone here.
Yeah.
Okay? Is that right? DR 2.4, I'm assuming is right. I wish I had like a thing. So everyone sees the DR 2.4, right? That is her authority score. It's the same if you ran the scan, a QR code scan, that you'd see. If you don't get the 0.4, you'd see 2.
Right.
Okay, Ashley, can you go to the overview, top left? And I already see why. I'm going to tell you in a second. And now go to the organic tab. I'm just looking at a couple things. I'm going to tell you exactly why you're in session. Go to just one year. Go to 1 year. Okay, so your traffic is, what is that? Approximately 200 visitors a month, organic. But in all honesty, like over the last 12 months, it's fluctuated up or down. Looks like there might be a little bit of a seasonality thing, like
There
in the fall.
absolutely is, yes, yes.
I don't know why that, but
I don't know why either. It happens every year.
some businesses is very easy to tell, like landscapers, right? Like obviously the winter months, stuff goes away, and then spring. Okay, I'm just not familiar with the raw industry. I don't know. In general, let's just say in general, it's relatively flat. Approximately 200 visitors, which I see organic. The reason you're adding 2.4 is you see the referring domains, you have 15.
Okay.
You have 15 referring domains. Now, we can take it one step further. Actually, click on referring domains on the left side, over on the left. Out of those 15 referring domains, those 15 that you have equals your 2.4.
Okay.
Okay? Over here on the right-hand side, actually, can you sort the do follow? Out of those 15, like what is it, 10? Out of your 15 referring domains, 10 of those 15 are do follow backlinks. So even though you have 15 total referring domains, only 10 of them are actually passing equity. So your 2.4, even more technically, is a function of your 10 referring domains that are do follow. And now we can start looking at these and diving in deeper. You can look at them. Go back, sort DR. So campaign archive, not sure what campaign archive is. It's okay, it's okay. That really, in all honesty, that's a DR91. That's a super high authoritative site. And you actually have do follow backlinks from it. So I would actually go so far as to say that your DR 2.4 that you have is mostly 90th percentile is driven by that one site.
Okay.
Okay? So does that make sense? So you have 15 total referring domains. Out of those 15, 10 of them have do follow backlinks, but there's this one that's a DR91 that is probably carrying the majority of that weight for you.
All right.
Makes sense? So that's the technical analysis. Now the answer is to how do I go from 2.4 to like 30 plus?
Get more of those?
You need more, like back to what we're talking about, you need more high authority referring domains. Right? More. Yeah.
So I do strategy calls for people every day, week, and this is kind of what we dive into. And one of the questions that I get a lot is, do I go with Google Ads or do I go with organic? Now, if your budget doesn't allow, obviously you have to kind of choose one or the other. With organic search, it's investing. So you're not, like Bobby has said, you're not gonna see the results tomorrow. Hopefully you'll see them next month, but
That's business though.
it is, right? So what I always.
I don't think you do this for like instant gratification.
Ads you do, but if, what I always encourage people to do is, okay, take a couple months, invest into organic, and then jump right back on ads, and hopefully by the time you're back into your kind of ads, you're starting to see the organic build. And so you're targeting both. Now it is a stop, for ads for a little while, maybe, depending on the budget, if you can, tweak and stretch and change, but we can, if you want to talk about that later, I can actually talk to you about that and our deals that we have this month. And what that looks like, right, have a deal. But that's what I typically tell people is if you can't do both, maybe take a beat and invest. And then hop back up on the instant, at the top of search, so that you have targeted both. And once you see that organic start growing, you can stop paying every month for ads. And then start investing a little bit more.
We also refer to it
Yeah.
we refer to it with some clients in that conversation as weaning off the Google ad. Like some businesses have no choice. Because if they weren't running Google ads, they would be nowhere to be found. So start investing, like Ash is saying, investing in organic SEO, and then the tables don't even start to turn, it turns exponentially, right? If you start ranking in organic search, it's an exponentially disproportionate higher volume of traffic that you will get versus running ads, and you're not paying per click. It's a totally different ballgame. Okay, anyone else want to look at their site since we have this? That's not it?
Sorry, I was sorry, man. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. That's it, right? Yeah. See, look, they're our client, everyone. Look how great everything is.
I think I missed a call from you. I did. You're probably calling me to tell me you were here.
Yeah, I couldn't, we were trying to figure out exactly where we're supposed to go.
One of our clients, HH Mechanical, is awesome. Thank you all for being here. That's awesome. Okay. So now the pressure's on, because now we're looking at one of our clients, all right? Go to 1 year, sorry, yeah, overview, referring domains. No, stay here, and go to 1 year, on referring domains. Right below.
Oh, no.
No.
Go down.
Hello. Thank you.
And then scroll down where we see their DRA. Yeah. Okay, so here's an example, Joe Moon, HH Mechanical, one of our clients. Okay, so we can actually see, hold on, scroll back so we see referring domain. Yeah, right there.
Right.
Okay. And then hover your mouse over like before September, up on referring. There you go. Okay. So when we executed an authority, we refer to this as an authority boost campaign. Okay, you can see the numbers. The domain rating of HH Mechanical, their site, was DR6, okay? And that was back in September. The DR6 was a function of their 66 referring domains that they had. Make sense? Kind of like what we were talking about with the other site. And then the executed authority, they went from 66 up to 400, almost 500 plus. We don't have 500, like on these kind of boost campaigns, we don't have the 450 to 500 referring domains. We have approximately 300 to 350, but what happens is, this is just kind of the way the internet works. Like, there's something like the internet just kind of does what it does. Once you start building momentum behind a site, authority-wise behind a site, other sites will just start linking for whatever reason, and from wherever they are, right? It's just kind of the way the internet operates. So you can see that we started building the referring domains, and then down here, you see the DR rating, this is 6. And then as a function of the referring domains, their DR rating is now 33, 30 plus. 30, 35, right? And Joe, you can, I mean, now I'm on the spot here a little, like no pressure for me to ask.
I just got my 3rd billboard put up in our little area right there, which is a big deal for me.
That's a huge deal. Hold on, let me quantify that though. Is that because your business is growing, you can now have the funds to invest in the billboards? So there you go. That's awesome.
We didn't pay him to be here.
Thank you. I was like, man, is like Joe here? Like, is he gonna like beat me up? Or you're like, I don't know.
I'll get a check for all of you.
Hey Bobby, can you explain real quick referring domains and page, like what they are again? Just so they're,
This is referring to maybe versus
Yeah.
backlinks.
Referring domains. So backlinks is always a very much, a much higher number, because from any, like you saw that one site, which was a DR91, it was crazy high. That had, I think, 2, right? So for any referring domain, you could have any number of backlinks coming from it, especially if you got a link like on a sidebar of a site, right? And on that sidebar might be on a category, and under that category, there might be like 100 pages. You would actually show 100 backlinks from that one referring domain. So I don't personally get too hung up on the total number of backlinks. And that might sound a bit like, I don't know, like contrarian from an SEO standpoint. I don't worry so much about backlinks as referring domains. Referring domains is important because each referring domain is unique, right? So referring domain 1 through 10, if you got 10, that's 10 unique referring domains. That's much more authoritative, regardless of how many backlinks that equals, right? 100 backlinks from each could be linking to, that'd be like 1,000 backlinks. The power is coming from actually the 10 referring domains. Does that make sense? That's a good question. So Joe's H&H Mechanical is just a really great example. This is the technical, graphical, kind of algorithmic expression of the impact of authority. And like he was just saying, his business is growing to where he now has the budget to invest in billboards. We have a client, Mountain Sweet Honey, who's up in Toccoa. I've actually been up there. Do you know them? Do you know? Okay. Ray Sivitz?
No, I don't know.
Oh, you know? Okay. Gotcha. So Mountain Sweet Honey, I've been up there several times. Ray loves inviting us up there and looking at his facilities. Ironically enough, city pages, he's the big city page guy. But also from authority, I saw his warehouse when it was like the equivalent of that corner. And then he got excited because of this kind of work, the impact he's been having on his business. It's now starting to like take the shape of like a Walmart distribution center. It's like crazy. He's got like a video production room and like racks that like pallet jacks, like lifts. I'm like, this is crazy. I'm like, middle of Toccoa and his bee like farm is behind it. All, if you listen to him, all 100% attributed to the impact of his authority, which really reverse engineer that. All that means is you're now ranking higher and you have more visibility when people are searching. And it's not even when people are searching. People are searching. It's just you getting in front of that.
How would my DR rating be equivalent to some of the huge companies that are out there? I was looking, we've done some scans and run some other sites of some of the largest companies in some largest companies in the country.
Actually, can you grab H&H Mechanical, go to a batch analysis? Yeah, grab that URL. And then go to batch analysis. And then can you tell us like a couple?
Reliable heating air. They're one of the largest heating air companies in the country.
I know they're major in Atlanta. They're-
And they have their own staff that does this stuff on a daily basis.
So we're gonna see. We'll see.
But their number was the same as mine.
Is it?
The DR, yes. So I just,
Well,
maybe.
Joe, I can assure you, because you're our client, they're not our client, so we're not. Okay. Here's the difference. So I see it, because this is like all I do is look at this stuff. So their DR rating is the same, DR 35. I don't know, like technically why, is because the referring domains do follow referring domains are in line with yours. Now, if they're a national level company, why is that? I don't know. My guess is they either don't have or haven't had like an SEO
We
company.
even run a couple of other ones too.
Well, because there's a couple numbers, let me stay here for a second, because there's a couple numbers that are dramatically different, even though the DR rating is the same, okay? Look over here at the traffic and the number of keywords. So your site's showing approximately 25 visitors a month. Their site's showing 3,600 visitors a month. You have to look outside of the DR rating, that's where the numbers start to really separate themselves, right? And also the number of keyword phrases. So of that 3,600 visitors a month that they're getting, it's coming from over 2,100 keywords per month, okay? So, and it's dramatically different. It's dramatically different. So why I can more than likely 99% sure if we looked at, and I don't know, I will look at your site because I'm just interested in these things, and I'll look at it now and see. If we went to reliableair.com, what we would see, I'm almost 100% sure, is a very active blog, right? A very active blog, meaning they have we're gonna see, like, let's see, Ashley's gonna see it, and we can test that here. Reliable blog.
You and I talked about that a few months back.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, January, today's what, the 26th, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, keep going. 5, next page. So, they do at least 5 or more blocks per month. And consistently. That is where the traffic and keywords are coming from, even with an equivalent DR level. Even with equivalent DR level. So that is what they are.
Backdoor way to get in through blogs.
So here's the value of blogging, right? Number one, they're getting found 2,100 keywords that people are searching. They're getting found when people are asking all kinds of questions about AC, repair, heating, air, whatever, right? Number one. Number two, all of their content is being found by all this traffic. They're not getting a ton of backlinks, that's why their DR is still at 35, but they're getting the traffic from the search. That's a value of running a blog, which back to the question of the budget of going to Google Ads versus organic, another thing, the only cost is your time, is you could start a blog, and you see the value of a blog with Reliable Air. My guess is, I don't know, I've never looked at it, never talked to anybody there. What they are investing in, they make sure that they're producing 5 or so blogs each and every month consistently, and it's driving massive amounts of traffic and massive amounts of keyword phrases to them, even with your equivalent DR level. And the blogging is another solution to, for example, I have $500 a month in Google Ad budget, but I need to be paying that, but what are some other things I can do? My Google Business Profile, I could also start a blog.
We have a blog. I
Do you-
don't know that it's helping.
Do you publish consistently? Consistency is the key.
Not consistently, no.
It doesn't even matter how many blogs per month, for example, that's not even the number one question I would ask. Anytime somebody, like, for example, that happens frequently, you could start a blog. Oh, well, I have a blog. My very next question is, how consistent are you in publishing? Even if it was once every other month, but every other month for the last year, you were consistent with that, you'd be looking like, comparatively speaking, like reliable.
That's good to know.
Right? And it's something you can do. I tell, especially like, younger kids or whatnot, that think about this, and I'm like, look, you could literally, for free, and you have the internet, because you're always on your phone, so I know you have the internet, you could literally for free start a blog tonight, and if you gave yourself 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, you could be a dominant force in whatever market you want to be in. Simply by starting a blog and being consistent in your content production. It's kind of also true to a degree with social media, like the same is true with like YouTube, Instagram, social media. The only difference there is you're publishing content on their platforms, whereas a blog is being published on your domain. So, with that being said, I know we're coming to an end. So, I hope, again, this is our first time doing our own thing here, not associated with an expo. So I hope it was helpful and valuable to you. We're in East Athens. You have now probably 10 different ways to get a hold of any one of us. We're here in Athens. We plan on doing a lot more of these on a much more regular basis. So more technical type questions or help getting things built, getting off the ground, reach out to any one of us. We're always here, and it's why we're here, to help you all with your businesses.
Yeah, and if you think about a question later on you just forgot to ask, we do have our aides standing by. You can go ahead and schedule a strategy call with them, and they can talk to you and even do more in-depth analysis on your website, on your Google My Business, and kind of give you a good idea. You know, we're always willing to just talk shop with everybody, even if you don't become a client.
Yeah, and I dropped the ball because the flyer you have in front of you is a QR code to the strategy call.
That's right.
That's the number one thing to do, right? That's the number one thing to do. I'll sit and just, you can come and we'll go to Lot 3, have lunch, I'll talk literally all day and all night. Yeah. But the best thing, schedule a call. It will be with Ashley or Abigail from our team, and we'd love to talk with you. So thank you again. And then on your way out, there is some Chick-fil-A left over, so you know, dig in. All right, thank you all. Thanks.